Good evening, Enter the Ring fans. You are with Mighty Mike, AJ Rage, and Eric the Red on Enter the Ring Live for the last day of January 2021. What's going on, brothers?
What's up, bro? How you doing, bro?
I'm okay. How you doing?
Another day in paradise.
I don't know why I laugh when I say it. Why do we laugh when we ask how we're doing? Because I think we all know how we're doing, but we have to
because we just saw each other like 2 minutes ago over at Rite Aid. Have I changed?
We were doing a transaction in the parking lot.
Yeah.
Hey, no, I'm too far away from that though, so I'm way too far away for that.
Hey, so we're gonna
get
it.
Yeah, so hold on. We made it through January. Okay, 1 down, 11 to go in 2021. I was there. Well, Eric, let's talk about you for a second because you just off the air. You told us some good news. Give us the good news.
Okay, so
you're gonna be a father again.
What was that?
You're gonna be a father again?
Oh God, no.
To a baby pill bug.
No, I'm done. I'm done with that. I can't. My heart couldn't take it. No, so we are gonna get to open our business back up on Friday.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, we're starting with 2 of our rooms, and at a smaller capacity, but at least it's something. So
yeah.
You know, I'm just so tired of all of this crap. Quite honestly.
But I mean, you're on the road to, trying to reestablish. And let me ask you a question. Has there been a lot of interest and inquiry in the last 8 months? People saying, hey, what's going on? What's going on?
I mean, I got calls every single week. People asking, are you open yet? Are you open yet? So honestly think that once, I get the scheduling all up, I'm hoping anyway that we're going to be busy, which is
God. I hope so too, bro. Really prayers, man. Prayers to you.
Really needed. So, but yeah. So yeah,
prayers
I think the whole world needs to get busy again, man. Get busy doing something.
We can't. Yeah. What is it? 40 some odd executive orders? Yeah, never mind. That's a whole.
Let's just we'll talk about
AJ. How you doing? Okay, Eric's gave us good news. What's going on with you?
Well, I dropped my cookies right now. Not get anything, bro. Just keep my head above water, man. Just hopefully be making this big move here pretty soon, and you guys will come following right behind me, and we'll get Jermaine Taylor back in the ring. Out there.
Jermaine Taylor.
We'll take over Little Rock boxing, But now, I hope that the rest of the year isn't going to be a reflection of this week's boxing scene because it wasn't a stellar week.
But it wasn't. And I don't know if we spoke too soon, but we've been very high on praising the cards PBC's been putting on. But what happened yesterday at the Shrine in LA, I just think overall was just not a very good card. Overall, it was just a bad weekend of boxing. Well, let me rephrase that. I don't want to say bad because any boxing is better than no boxing as far as I'm concerned, and we all agree with that. But let's go ahead and jump right into the weekend recap. Well, let's talk about in chronological order. Let's talk about what happened on Friday. So Friday, in what turned out to be the biggest cluster F in recent memory, I think, in regards to the WBA, if that can even be a topic, because it seems like everything associated with the WBA is some sort of cluster F. Bermane Stavern was granted a title shot against Trevor Bryan for the vacant WBA. Now, it kept going back and forth. It was going to be for the interim or eliminator, whatever champion. So obviously Don King, who promoted this event, called in a favor at the very last minute, and Trevor Bryan fought Bermane Stavern for the vacant WBA regular heavyweight title that was apparently belonged to Manuel Char, who was having visa issues for the last few weeks, couldn't get here. Apparently still made the trip, somehow got here, but was either not allowed to fight or something. At the very last minute, the WBA ruled that he was being stripped of the title because of non-activity. He hadn't fought since 2017, but somehow still retained that version of the heavyweight championship. Okay, I left out.
You can't even make this stuff up. Let's just say that you can't even make this stuff up.
Over 3 years. He hasn't fought in over 3 years.
Yes. Now, okay, so what the kicker is that, Bermane Stavern has been promoted by Don King for the better part of the last several years. He had not, well, first off, his last fight, he was stopped by Joe Joyce in February of 2019. Prior to that, he got stopped in one round in in a highlight reel knockout by Deontay Wilder in the rematch in 1 round. What was it? A minute into the round, a minute 30 into the round?
Even, yeah, barely that.
So you have to go back to sometime in 2017 or late 2016 to find the last time Bermane Stiverne had a victory. It was elevated to the contender status to fight for the title. Now, Trevor Bryan's not much better. His last win was in August of 2018 against BJ Flores. Now, is BJ Flores even a heavyweight? Didn't he fight a light heavyweight, cruiserweight, and maybe just ballooned up and said, okay, we're going to give you a shot at it. He took his, I guess he tried to test the waters at heavyweight. This is an absolute atrocity in boxing. And I don't even know what to say. Like, the WBA, you can all pretty much but flush that belt down the toilet. I think that belt needs to be downgraded. It's one step above the NABO, and this is not a knock on the NABO, because I believe the NABO actually has more ethics and credibility in how they conduct business than the WBA. What do you guys say? What say you?
What do you say, Eric? Go ahead, give your take on that.
I agree 100%. I mean, how do you get somebody who hasn't had a fight in 3 years? I mean, why does he even deserve a fight? He's already retired as far as I'm concerned. You don't fight for 3 years? Guess what? What were you eating? Twinkies and ding dongs? I mean, what the hell's going on?
And both guys, if you go back and watch the replay, both guys came in heavy. The fight managed to go 11 rounds, which was shocking that they even could go the 11 rounds. Bermane Stiverne came in at a career high 270 something, and Trevor Bryan was right around the same. I mean, his midsection just looked, I mean, it was embarrassing, guys. It was hard to watch. The entire production was subpar. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think boxing needs to look a little bit closer in who's sanctioning these fights, because when you elevate two fighters who have really done nothing the last few years to this level of a match, especially being a pay-per-view, it just adds tarnish to boxing this year, especially two guys. Let's be honest. I like Bermane Stiverne as a person. He seems like a genuine guy. And
I was going to say that I like Bermane Stiverne. Yeah, 5 years ago, I thought Bermane Stiverne was a decent fighter.
Yeah, and and I love to see the fact he got the payday, which he probably needs. But does it help boxing? No. Especially with a guy like Trevor Bryan. I mean, the last time, like I said, BJ Flores, a guy who barely can make it at the light heavyweight cruiserweight division, the guy who was a ballooned up heavyweight, and that's your, your one star on your resume. That's ridiculous, man.
I said something earlier before we came on. Bob Arum should take a look at that. And Bob Arum, and I'm not saying he's a days or even weeks away or whatever, but of being out of the game, but he should take a close, hard look at his former foe and friend, Don King, and say, I need to get out of this game before I become that, before I have to call in a favor, pick up a phone and call in a favor to try to legitimize a card that I'm putting on in Florida. Now, I don't know much about what the undercard, and this is not a knock on any of the young fighters that fought on the undercard, because, young fighters, whether they're, 4-rounders, 6-rounders, guys that are maybe making their debut at 10 rounds. I mean, God bless them. They deserve an opportunity to fight and be seen.
Yeah.
Sadly, knowing Don King and his track record, these kids are probably getting underpaid. They're probably signing their life away in the contracts that they're basically beholden to. And Bob Arum needs to look at this and go, before I turn into that, before I ever put on a spectacle like that, I need to get out of this game.
Yeah. Don King's been long overdue to get out of the game.
Long overdue. When people hear his name, you're like, he's still alive is the first thing that comes to mind.
Yeah.
I think he's got the tiger blood, though. He drinks the blood of little children, so I think he's going to live a long time.
Well, I tell you, that fight on Friday, obviously,
that's what it does.
The Bermane Stiverne Trevor Bryan fight kind of set off the mood for the remainder of the week. With the maybe
nice segue, dude.
Yeah. To just kind of get it set up, for what an uneventful week it was in boxing.
Yeah.
I don't know how much more we really want to talk about whatever, but
we can move on from the Friday card, Bermane Stiverne and Trevor Bryan.
Saturday.
And let's move to Saturday, the PBC on Fox.
So, if you don't mind, I'd like to talk about, why don't we talk a little bit about the one bright point that we did see before we get into the main event on Saturday. And that was a fighter that I talked about in our last segment. As a matter of fact, I think I talked about it when we had John Molina, the Gladiator, on here. And that was a fighter, I want to say a young fighter, but a guy who actually turned pro got interested in boxing at 29, turned pro at 31. And has just knocked off a 17-0 guy. Guy who was actually an Olympic, representative, and a guy who was a multiple Golden Gloves champion. And Domini Rock, I'm talking about Michael. Get me a big cup of coffee, dude. What do you
think? Michael Pineapple Eaton. That's his thing.
You gotta love the guy,
pineapple
man.
and
pineapple and a water, right?
A military veteran, a guy who just finally got off the couch one day and said, "You know what? I like boxing. I'm going to give it a shot." But he retains things, which is good.
Yes,
he's a smart guy. So why don't you go ahead and tell me, bro? And then we'll go from you, then we'll go to Eric, and then we'll go to me. Why don't you tell me what your impression was of Michael Coffey?
I sent a text message earlier to my buddy Mike Montero on boxing. I asked him if he got a chance to see the fight. He was going to go back. He missed that one, and I told him the three things that stuck out to me. He throws crisp punches tight. He's got power.
Yes, and
like you said, he's getting better with every fight. He's getting better with every round.
Yeah.
And then if I can add a fourth point in there, just what a likable guy. He just seems like
guy.
I mean, he's in shape. I mean, he's not your 6'5", 6'6" heavyweight like that we have today. What is he, about 6'2", 6'3", right?
He's actually 6'4", came in at
6'4", 6'4". Okay. So, I mean, he doesn't look like today's heavyweight, these 6'8" giants. But I'm telling you, man, that's a guy right there. And we could put it right here on this day. We could say it. That guy, that's a future champion right there.
I think so.
I guarantee it. You put him in there with Trevor Bryan, who currently holds that WBA belt, who fought on Friday. He knocks that guy out in, I'm guessing, 3 rounds or less.
You know what I think? I think a lot of it has to do with he was in the military.
Yep, discipline.
He's disciplined, and when you're in the military, you learn the right way to do something, and you stick to it. I mean, I think they said what is it? Oh goodness. Anyway, so you focus on one thing at a time.
Compartmentalize things.
There you go. That's the word I was trying to.
Yeah.
I can't even say
compartmentalize. Yeah.
Compartmentalize. Anyway, yeah. So when you do that and you tweak it a little bit left, when you just start tweaking it just a little bit, you learn. And his ring IQ is getting better and better with every fight. And I honestly think you're like you said, he is definitely he's going to be a champ.
I mean, he threw that the first punch that knocked down Rock was that Robert calls it a 45. It was like an uppercut, but he kind of came from a different angle and threw it. And man, he landed that thing flush, man. The snot and spit went flying, and Damani went down, and he barely beat the count. Jacques Reese gave him like a 9.5. He barely beat the count, but then he came back in and threw that nice left hook, and that was it. I mean, that guy is, look at, how did the rest of boxing let this guy slip by? The PBC is not known really, with the exception of Wilder, really, and a couple guys, not really known for developing like prospects. A lot of the guys that they signed were like the Chris Ariolas, Dominic Brazils, Robert Helenius, guys that already had established their careers. There really was no prospects in the PBC for the division, and they got one now. Yeah, I mean, and this guy is good. And then I know Top Rank has a prospect. A couple others, a couple other promotions have these prospects. It's from what I see, this is the best of the bunch for the prospects. For guys, around 15 fights, heavyweights, starting to basically creep up the ladder and approach, knocking on the door of the top 10. This guy right here.
Yeah.
He even at one point he even switched to southpaw, and he looked very comfortable.
Yeah.
You could tell the guy maybe, I don't know if he had just boxing was in his blood. Remember his father, his family, maybe somebody,
He's a student of boxing.
No, he actually, I'll tell you. Yeah, I actually started liking Michael Coffey around the end of 2018 after his fight against Terrell Woods. The thing about this guy is that what I've noticed, obviously what you talked about, was the fact him being polite. But I looked at his menacing size at 6'5", 265 pounds, and I thought to myself, here's a guy, doesn't get interested. I mean, he's always been interested in boxing, but didn't really take the steps forward to really start training to become a fighter until he was 29 years old and out of the military.
Yeah.
At 31 years old, he turns pro. He's now 34, and at 12-0 with 9 knockouts, he's already got. So he just beat a guy who, let's be honest, there's some guys right now who are in the top 10 who haven't fought a guy of Dimitri Rock's level. So the thing is with Michael Coffey, you're absolutely right, both you guys. he's getting better and better. I think it's because he's one of the few guys that really loves the sport. He watches. He'll probably go back and watch a Mike Tyson or a Larry Holmes or Ernie Schaber's fight, and he sees the things that these guys do. He understood that when a guy like Dimitri Rock and that size gets on top of you, the only way you're going to be successful is if you get that distance. He created that distance and landed the punch that it pretty much ended the fight, because from that point it was sayonara.
Another thing I liked about him, if I can just pipe in real quick, he didn't look like your typical heavyweight. I mean, he actually can move. He was
very
was
fleet of foot
on his feet
for as big as he is.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that was impressive for me. The fact that he can move as quick as he was. So that was
and you said he's 34 years old now, but obviously, turning pro at 31, he obviously has kept himself in good shape. Like I said, that's that military background, PT, physical training. He's always kept himself healthy. And traditionally in the heavyweight division, those guys age and peak a little bit later. They're not like the younger, lighter divisions. Yeah. If you told me there was a bantamweight or a featherweight that's turning pro at 31, I'd say he doesn't have a shot. But in the heavyweight division, where the numbers are a little bit more compressed, and look at George Foreman won the title at 45. Deontay Wilder is what is Deontay now? 35 now, 36?
Yeah. I mean, how old is Luis Ortiz?
Yeah, Luis Ortiz is, they like the anti-PBC guys like to say he's like 50 or something, but is he 41, 42 years
41,
old?
42, yeah.
But this guy, when I watched him fight, he reminded me a little bit of his style and his frame, a little bit of Ike Ibeabuche.
Yes.
Just his build, and the way he's proportioned. And, I don't know, man. I mean, I don't think we're getting too high on the guy. I think we're actually right on the money, and the guy's he's gonna do something, man. He's got a good chin too. Took some shots, got a good chin.
Well, I'll tell you what, bro. Being the fact that the heavyweight division is in this transitionary period right now, you have Deontay Wilder sitting on the bench waiting to get a call from the coach, whether or not it's going to happen or not. He took a little bit of side money to let this Anthony Joshua Fury fight happen. But beyond those guys, you pretty much have a stack of guys that are either blown up cruiserweights or guys that have kind of hung around a little bit too long.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So this is really a prime time for a guy like a Michael Coffey. He might just be able to slide right through the heavyweight division. Let's be honest. I know at one point probably people were like, oh, I remember when they first were showing him, well, he's a guy who might be competitive against guys like Mike the Bounty Hunter later on. Now they're talking about, and I know for myself personally, I don't put it beyond at 6'5". I mean, he's a big guy with his skill. Anthony Joshua, a Deontay Wilder, or a Tyson Fury later on in the future.
Well, in the immediate future, I can see them matching this guy up against a Robert Helenius, who also holds some version of the WBA title with that win over Kovnatsky.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So I like that big Nordic Helenius. I like him, and I'd kind of be torn on that fight. But, may the best man win.
It's kind of funny that you said Kovnatsky, because I don't know if you heard or not, but he's a name that's been brought up as a possible next opponent for Michael Coffey.
Oh.
So that would be a great matchup. Now, would I just hand that victory over to Michael Coffey? Absolutely not. Kovnatsky's a tough as nails guy.
He's still a tough guy.
He's a guy that's going to be punch for punch,
He was I don't want to, maybe exposed is too strong of a word, but when Helenius put him down and hurt him, most people thought that this guy could just, he was like a modern day Randall Tex Cobb. You could just hit him with everything and he's just going to stand there and not go down.
Yeah.
And Helenius put him down and hurt him.
Helenius has kind of,
he's got
underrated power. I mean, he's shown it in the past. He's got true power, that Nordic power that he possesses.
Yeah.
So it wasn't, same situation with Michael Coffey. Like I said, against Dimitri Rock, he was a big puncher coming in that thing. He hit him with some good shots. And Joey Bell, another guy who Michael Coffey fought against, is another guy who's a big puncher. Hit Michael Coffey some big punches, but once again, Coffey was victorious. So, I mean, I think he's a guy that he's getting slicker, and he's very fleet of foot. And I think he's somebody that's going to be competitive, and he just makes that heavyweight division a little bit more interesting, especially with his backstory.
Yeah. Well, talking about his backstory too, as a Marine, the guy's not going to be fearful of anything.
No.
Honestly, I mean,
no.
The training that you go through in the military, you're not going to be afraid of anything. When you're holding a live grenade, or you're not afraid of anything.
I think the only problem Michael Coffey might eventually run into, bro, and it's the one thing it's the one knock on him. That is something that even trainer Robert Akosar will tell you. And that's just experience. You may learn on the job.
Yeah.
But eventually you might get in there with somebody who's just been doing it way too long. And whatever you think in your memory you're going to be able to pull against this guy, he's been there, done it 100 times before. And that's the unfortunate situation that Michael Coffey is in. He just might run into a guy like that.
Well, he said something in the post-fight interview that they asked him, well, what does he foresee in the future? And he says, well, I want to fight somebody that's a step up from his opponent that he beat last night. And then if he wins that fight, he wants a little bit. So I don't think he's in any hurry. Obviously, look, he didn't turn pro till 31. He's like, hold on, guys, you're not just going to feed me to the wolves and throw me in there right now with the top 5 guy, as just an opponent. You know what I mean? So I think if he's with the right management, he's going to, another couple years and he could be fighting for the title. But as long as it's productive 2 years and he's fighting regularly and he's staying in shape and he's learning with each fight, and the matchmaking obviously has to be right. And I'm not saying this doesn't mean they're hand picking guys that aren't quality, but he's got to be in there with the right guys to, especially if he's going to go in there eventually fight someone like a Deontay or Hellenius or these big, tall 6'6", 6'7" heavyweights. Maybe they fight somebody next time that's even a little bit taller,
like stair steps, he's got the next step up.
Yeah.
You don't jump 5 steps ahead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You're absolutely right, bro. That's a great point. And the thing is that, the future we'll tell, but like I said, the couple things that I like about the guy, like you said, Mike, he's a very likable guy. He's got good work ethic. He actually enjoys the sport. We'll see what happens. Like I said, hopefully he doesn't get overmatched here pretty soon, but he was the only bright point for me this weekend. So with that said, why don't we
He's a patriot.
I guess we could talk a little bit about, I don't know if you want to talk about the Joey Spencer fight, if it's even worth talking about. It's up to you.
Well, okay. That was the only, there was other fights on the card. Joey Spencer fought Seldon's son, right?
Yeah, Bruce Seldon's son.
I got mixed feelings on Joey Spencer. I think about a year ago, they realized that they were moving him a little too fast, and he was starting to get, once again, that word exposed. He was starting to, that power, that so-called vaunted power wasn't manifesting in his fights. And he was consistently fighting guys that were overmatched. The guy that he beat last night, Seldon, I don't know much about him. I'm just not overly impressed with Joey Spencer, especially at that weight, at 154. He said in the post-fight interview, hey, I'm getting bigger, I'm getting stronger, I'm doing different things in the gym now. Yeah, but at the end of the day, you're still in a very tough division. You're in a very tough division, 154. I think the kid would be better served losing that baby fat and going down to 147 while he's young enough to do it. Because I think at 154, and if he says he's getting bigger and stronger, going up to 160, he's a disaster waiting to happen.
Yeah.
He was scheduled to fight a friend of mine, AJ, him, Nate Weston, right before the pandemic. The contract was signed, they were good to go. The strength and conditioning coach, a good friend of mine, was working with Nate, and they were gung-ho, ready to go. And then about a couple weeks later, I think they did a little bit of their homework on Nate and realized, hey, wait a minute, we bit off a little bit more than we can chew. Nate Weston is no joke. Nate Weston's a guy that got started late in boxing as well, but he's been a primary sparring partner for Jaime Munguia, Triple G, and this is all just in the last year or two.
Exactly.
So he's in there taking punches from Triple G, from Jaime Munguia, guys that are big, physically strong. He would walk through Joey Spencer's punches.
Well, I think that's what they saw, and I think that's starting to become the MO of Joey Spencer. And that's the issue I got with Joey Spencer is it seems like whenever the opponent is a little bit too tough, he finds a way out of it. Now, once again, I'm not trying to say that Isaiah Seldon was a world beater. He was a guy that already had a couple losses on his record. His claim to fame is his dad's a former heavyweight champion. Let's be honest, Bruce Seldon to me didn't come off as the most intimidating foe when it came to
he looked like a bodybuilder, right? But he didn't have the skill to match.
Anybody that remembers his bout against Mike Tyson back in the day,
wasn't that the one where it was just like he was scared to death?
He was scared to death.
Yeah.
I felt like I was watching Earl Hargrove. But getting back to what I was saying about, Joey Spencer, another thing that I've noticed is whenever an opponent, now don't get me wrong, Isaiah Seldon was on his way out, but he kind of got a little overly aggressive when he got those 2 points taken away from him. But
Selden?
it was the speed in which the referee kind of took that opportunity away from Selden, almost not to put Joey Spencer, because Spencer, right before he dropped him the second time, got caught with a wild hook because this guy was fighting out of sheer aggression. So as soon as that happens, they just end the fight and Joey Spencer goes on. This is the third time I've seen this happen in a Joey Spencer fight. It's not a coincidence.
No,
I wrote it down.
Very well protected. Very protected.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now.
A little premature on the stoppage.
Very premature.
Yeah. And I think Selden,
like, that was just.
And
wrong.
I think Selden even was combative with the referee, and he was like, "What are you doing? I'm up.
Selden even got threatened by the referee. They're going to withhold his money, his purse for the fight. And I'm like, come on, man. This is getting ridiculous.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't see where Joey Spencer fits in that 154 pounds.
That's what I was saying.
So he can continue to keep doing it. I'll tell you right now, I know it's not going to happen, but in a fantasy, in a perfect world, how long do you think a guy like Joey Spencer lasts against a guy like Tim Tszyu with those skills? Not very long.
Not very long.
Now. He needs a lot of work to do. He's one of these guys that thinks he can rely on his punch, and he doesn't punch as hard as he thinks he does.
No, he does not.
He's in there against these China chain guys. You know what I'm saying? If Selden's anything like his dad, they both have a lot of porcelain up in the upper jaw, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But it is what it is, And I'm not trying to come down on Joey. He's probably a decent guy, but who knows?
He is, but at some point, you got to stop talking the tough game. Like, I'm here to fight the best. I'm here. It's like, you got to start doing it,
exactly.
which is a great segue into the main event that happened last night here in LA. Caleb Plant wins a wide unanimous decision over Caleb Truax, a fight that we all predicted. We all knew it was going to go down exactly like this.
Yeah.
The only way that I thought Caleb Plant could get a stoppage victory, which he was highly predicting, was by a stoppage on cuts, because Truax has been known in the past to cut. He doesn't have the most durable skin. He managed to avoid being cut last night. He did get a bloody nose, and Caleb Plant goes on to win a 12-round decision. It was nothing special. For all the talking he did and for all the preparation and everything, you would have thought that he really would have went out there and really put on a more impressive victory. I mean, it was impressive in the fact that he pretty much won every round, but it just wasn't an impressive fight. It just really was. What is Caleb Truax now? 37 years old, 38 years old?
37.
37. So here's a guy that's, and this is no disrespect to him, because I respect any man that's willing to get in there, but he's seen better days. That was his last big hurrah, his last big whatever. I mean, his last shot at a main event. Where does he go from there? I hope he got a good payday, because he seems like a decent guy. Yeah. Caleb Truax, it's time for you. I'm sorry, Caleb Plant. It's time for you to step up and really, because that's 3 fights in a row now. That's the guy, was it Mike Lee? That's Mike Lee.
Mike Lee.
The other guy, I can't even say his name, and now Caleb Truax.
Yeah.
I'll tell you right now what my take is. Leading up to this fight, all I kept hearing about. Okay, let me go back a little bit farther, give you a little bit more of a storyline.
Backstory.
All I heard at the 168 was Callum Smith. Canelo Alvarez goes in there and makes Callum Smith look ordinary. Beats the man pretty much with ease. Should be considered, in the eyes of boxing people, the number one guy at 168. We here at Enter the Ring Live know who the number one fighter at 168 is, and his name is David Benavidez.
Yes.
Okay. He's not from Guadalajara. He's not from Tijuana. He's from Arizona. But let me say this about Caleb Plant. Caleb Plant comes with a lot of hype. He comes out of the Mayweather gym. He's got this flashy style and stuff, Don't get me wrong. He's got some skill. Okay.
Yeah. Caleb's got some skill.
But I knew a lot of guys in the past that could look fancy. Guys like Tyrone the Butterfly Crawley. Doesn't mean he was going to be a world beater. Doesn't mean he's going to beat the Julio Cesar Chavez's of the world.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. When I look at Caleb Plant and I look at Canelo Alvarez, I see Julio Cesar Chavez and Tyrone the Butterfly Crawley. It's just not going to happen. So Caleb Plant can keep saying how he wants his Canelo fight. We'll see. Unless the money's right, where Caleb knows he could take this risk, he's not going to take that risk. No. As you always say, bro, he's not going to venture to the other side of the street. I think it's an easy night of work. for Canelo Alvarez against a guy who really has no power. He's got to catch a couple punches here and there, but he's not as durable. He's very hittable.
Especially in the second half of the fight. In that second half of the fight, Truex was landing some nice counter right hands. Now, granted, Truex is not exactly a one-hitter quitter, but can you imagine those right hands being rained down on him from Canelo Alvarez? Oh. If it's by a David Benavidez, he's out for the 10 count.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
With those right hand counters, you know, and once again, like you said about Joey Spencer, you know, good kid. Caleb Plant seems like a decent guy. You know what I mean? He gets a little mouthy sometimes, and he, you know, I think sometimes somebody should be there to remind him, hey, dude, you know what? I mean, this isn't your MO. You know,
Well, the post fight interview with him, and he's like, just line him up. I'm knocking him down. Hell, he couldn't even knock down Truex. You know, I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Line him up. I'm knocking him down. You didn't.
Yeah.
You know?
And Truex was coming off of a lot of inactivity, and his last big fight against Peter Quillen was the one that ended because of the bad cut. The bad cut was it on his in his forehead or something? I think it was the middle of the forehead. Either way.
Let's be honest. Truex hasn't done anything since 2017 in his victory against James DeGale. So really, there was no real.
And James DeGale was on his way out. Nothing against James. James DeGale's peaked, and he a couple of those fights later in his career, he just didn't have it anymore. Couldn't pull the trigger.
Yeah, and there was a guy, like I said, sometimes your boxing career just takes a turn, but you know, it almost shows like this stigma that's in boxing right now. There's certain fighters that just concentrate on boxing, guys like Canelo Alvarez, and they seem to always find the evil and the bad in them and expose it, and always try to find a guy that's got the attitude, the social standings, who likes to be on Facebook and Instagram to kind of venture over him and stuff. And we got to get away from that shit. We got to get back to the guys that actually want to fight in the ring, like Michael Coffey, Canelo Alvarez. I hope Caleb Plant gets his opportunity against Canelo, because it's going to be, to me, honestly, it's going to be laughable. He's going to need to pull the biggest shocker in boxing history. He's going to need to learn how to throw a punch. They're probably going to have to get the guy who trained Antonio Margarito, and figure out a way to kind of get that same trick going into this fight.
Yeah, with the plaster of Paris in his hands. Yeah,
that's his only opportunity, brother.
Yeah,
it ain't going to happen.
Nope. Yeah, very well said. I think you know, but Caleb Plant does have, you know, I mean, he's one of the PBC poster boys right now. I think he might have supplanted, or might be very close to supplanting, Leo Santa Cruz as Al Heyman's favorite. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that, you know, he checks off some boxes, guys, and I'm going to try to be diplomatic about it. Okay. He checks off some boxes. His wife, Jordan Plant, works for the PBC. You know, he happens to be a white kid, and he's got, you know, he's skilled, he's talented, and I'm not taking nothing away from him. I don't care what color he is. He could be purple, and he's got skills. I mean, he's a good fighter, but like I said, he checks off some boxes, and I think that they're going to continue to
nurture him,
protect him, and nurture him, and coddle him, and give him the right fights to get him the exposure. I even saw him on Fox News, on a regular Fox News channel. At the end of last week, he was doing an interview with Brian Kilmeade and them, and it's like, that's something that doesn't quite happen.
Does that remind you of something though, bro? Do you remember a fighter back in the past who kind of got ridiculous amount of press? He even got the cover of Sports Illustrated as
Ronda Rousey.
No, but it took one fight to expose him, and his name was Zab Super Judah. This is a guy who they were showing during primetime. You know,
Zab Judah.
He was gracing every boxing magazine, Sports Illustrated, as the best, as the future champion. He was on the news. He was on Good Morning America. You name it, Zab Judah was on it. And then all it took was Costa Zoo to go in there and make him ordinary.
Yeah,
that's all it's going to take with this.
And nothing against Zab. I love Zab Judah. I love Zab Judah. I mean, I developed respect for him in a lot of fights. His fight with Danny Garcia, his fight with Amir Khan. But anyway, so like I said, Caleb Plant does check off some boxes, and you know, I think they're going to try to make him, you know, a superstar in that division, and at least in and around that division. But like I said, and you said it, AJ, if that fight with Canelo does happen, it ain't going to happen anytime soon. But when it finally does happen, that's when the train comes to a screeching halt.
Yeah, absolutely.
Canelo has no problem with them.
No, and the thing is that the thing I didn't like what Caleb said right away, right after the fight was over, the first thing that came out of his mouth, before he even congratulated, or even not congratulated, just said, hey, you know, I'd like to acknowledge my opponent. was he hurt his hand. And I said,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Here's another one.
Yeah.
You know, because he didn't
built-in excuse. Built-in excuse.
Built-in excuses.
Yeah.
You know, you show me a fighter that can actually go through a fight, you know,
and hurt their hand.
A guy like a Lomachenko who won't tell you until weeks later. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I believe you guys. People out there that are listening, we're making this weekend of boxing seem a hell of a lot more exciting. We're reaching here, man.
Exactly,
we are
dude.
Reaching, man.
Because it wasn't. It wasn't.
This was a puddle of mud, and it has no offense against the band. This was a puddle of mud that we were stuck in and sinking in.
This was a Nickelback weekend in boxing.
Puddle of Mud is a good band, dude.
Can I talk about something here real quick?
Go ahead, bro.
All right. What is it with really bad refs?
Oh, I know.
Sharon Sands.
Oh, the black lady with the That's the referee that refereed Renee Moreno's fight at the
horrible.
She is atrocious.
Yeah,
she has no business being anywhere near a boxing ring as a judge. The only thing she's qualified to do is clean the ring after the fights are over.
Yeah,
she does not belong near a fucking, excuse my language, a boxing ring. She's atrocious.
I agree. I was just like, what the hell is this? You know,
she makes Lawrence Cole look like Mills Lane.
Very good.
I mean, she's bad, guys. When AJ, you were there when Renee Moreno fought.
Yeah, Murray got the head, but she didn't call
multiple times, and they were telling her, "Are you looking? This guy's using his head and cut him twice." And you know, like I said,
this guy had a big head, dude.
This Haitian had a big old head,
and he kept smashing Renee in the face, and Renee was doing everything not to. You know,
not to get hit in the head. Yeah.
Well, not only that, not to respond in a negative way and do something out of character because
to fight dirty. Yeah.
He would have been ostracized by Robert, his trainer, you know. But I mean, the point is that it was you can see it in the kid's face. He was frustrated. I mean, it's like, you know, every other time he was just taking these the top of the head, which was really bad, right to the face, man. It was horrible.
Yeah. She doesn't belong anywhere near. And once again, you know, I mean, to flip the script, Caleb Plant checked some boxes. This referee checked some boxes. She's female. She's African American. I mean, there's not there. I don't even think there's any other active African American female referees anywhere in boxing that I know of. And this is not to say that you can't be a very well qualified referee, no matter what you are, no matter what gender or color you are. But she is not good, and she's getting assignments, and she needs to go back to the amateurs. And I know amateurs are shut down now, but she needs to go back to the amateurs and learn how to properly just control a fight.
Yeah, I personally think, and this is just me, this is just on a personal level, I honestly think that unless you've been hit in the face, you shouldn't be a ref. Period. I'm dead serious. I'm dead serious, because you're gonna, as a boxer, you're gonna see things differently in the ring. You're gonna know when to break it up. You're gonna know when not to break it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
she's not mobile enough. She's out of position consistently, and something bad is gonna happen on her watch.
Yeah.
Hey,
it's only a matter of time. The more assignments she gets, the more potential there is for disaster.
Yeah, somebody's
with this ref.
It's not easy being a ref, because I know when I did that boxing charity
event.
You did a great job.
But the very first fight, a guy got hurt.
Yeah,
and I stopped it kind of quick because I was still experienced. I mean, I looked at him and go, "Hey, dude, the unfortunate thing for you was you got the luck of the draw being the first fight." You know, I kind of broke my virginity with that one. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, but that kid,
I didn't like the way he hit the ground. He
got hit hard. And in your defense, and all the years of that real estate rumble, the charity event that I've been a part of, that we worked last time,
brutal.
Hey, that was the first and only time somebody's hit the canvas.
Oh, and but they hit the canvas more later on in the night, dude. I had a brutal night. The guys are going at it.
That guy got hit with a left.
Oh my God, dude.
Oh, that kid got hit. I think it was a left hook, man. He just came out of a clinch and bam. His head shot around.
I was physically tired by the end of it, dude. We're the most disciplined fighters. I took a lot of punches here and there, which I didn't mind. You know, that kind of kept me awake.
Oh yeah, but if you could, that's what this referee needs to do. She needs to, maybe we'll put her to work next time we're able to have that event again, and let her come out and do it.
The two girls, remember the two girls I fought?
Oh yeah,
the one that got stopped, dude, caught me with one right to the chin, dude. And I was like, I was like, There we go. Where's my drink?
Yeah. So,
but it was
anyway.
Fun.
Anyways, we got obviously in 2020 the entire event got scrapped, but next year if we're able to do, I'm already in communication with the guy that puts it on from Chicago.
Jason, right?
No. Justin is the one that handled it here, but the guy from Chicago that puts it on, and we're gonna make it big in 2021 if we can have it here. We've already got the venue.
I'm fighting in this one. I'm not.
Oh yeah,
I want to fight.
We've already got the venue picked out. We've got the venue picked out, and we're gonna bring some notoriety to the event. You know, we've got some fighters lined up that'll come, and they might even do. Actually, it was suggested to me. Robert said, "Hey, we'll have two of our pros just do a little 3-round exhibition." Yeah. Like a sparring match.
How about get Johnny in there to do an exhibition with somebody?
Johnny will probably do that, especially because it's for charity. Oh, Johnny would absolutely do that. You know,
it's just about finding somebody who wants to get in there.
I want the Great White Hope in the ring. I want to get in there.
You just gotta find somebody.
I'll start working out now.
No, it's a fun event though. It's a fun event, and it's like I said, that one year we raised over $10,000 for I think it was the Big Brothers Big Sisters of Greater LA. So it's a good cause. And
it was a great event. It was a great turnout.
You know what I would like to do? I think we talked about this before, AJ, and actually talked to my buddy Mike. We need to get I would love to incorporate some non-industry individuals in that. These guys that run these YouTube channels, these boxing people, and I guarantee you 90% of them will want to have nothing to do with it because they like to sit behind the mic and talk boxing like they know, but they would never get in the ring. None of them. But I would like to make that happen somehow, because I think that would be good for everybody's.
We got three fights right here: me versus somebody, you versus somebody, and AJ versus somebody. Yeah, that would be amazing.
The only way we lose is if we fight.
Dude, I would fight two of those guys on the. I would fight two of those guys on the same night. I'd fight Ellie first, knock him out in one round, and then I'd probably go on to I don't know who else. I don't know, somebody else. I'll fight somebody. Yeah, that would be fun. But
we'll see if it will. Yeah, if anybody can make it happen, it's you, bro. But
we'll make it happen. Like I said, we would have had it this year, but the China virus, whatever. So, hey, is there anything? Okay. I think that was pretty much it for the fights that happened this weekend. What's on the horizon? What's coming up next week? Is there anything? I mean, I know it's the Super Bowl next week, right? So that's most promotions, especially in the United States, are probably going to just shy away from this weekend. Although, how great would it be to have a fight leading up to the Super Bowl? Not that I care about the Super Bowl. I probably won't even watch the game. I give two shits about the NFL, but it'd be nice to have a fight. Why have they never done that? Put a fight at halftime.
I know that'd be great. I think
put a 4-rounder at halftime. How great would that be?
I think the only thing that we really got that I know for myself, but obviously we got Jojo Diaz coming up on the 13th. We know that.
Oh, Jojo Diaz, and he's fighting. Okay, his opponent tested positive, but then he retested, and they said it was a false positive, so it's back on.
They're all false positives.
Yeah,
they got the flu.
Well, good. Hey, good for Jojo Diaz, man, because that kid needs to fight.
Well,
he wants to fight.
That same weekend, obviously, we got Joe Smith Jr., who's going to be back in there. You got Josh Warrington and Marcelo Lara going to be fighting. You got and you got Castano fighting, and you got Richard Comey against Jackson Moranes, the guy who everybody felt beat Rolly Romero.
Yeah, beat Rolly. Yeah.
So that's going to be an interesting fight right there.
Hey, that Castano Teixeira fight is going to be a good fight, and I tell you what, that Castano's tough. I'm actually kind of leaning towards him a little bit.
I think he wins the fight.
I think he wins the fight. I don't think he wins the fight by knockout, but I think he's going to inflict a lot of damage on Teixeira, who takes a lot of punches. Teixeira won't quit and won't go down, but at some point, I think the referee would jump in. And if I'm correct in saying this, is that I believe Castano fights for Golden Boy, right?
Yes, he does.
So it's probably going to be here at Fantasy Springs, and it'll probably be Russell Mora will get the assignment or somebody like that. So, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, put 2 and 2 together. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah. I just pulled up. It looks like on the 6th. So Saturday, there's a fight. Also, it's McGregor and Gurfey.
That's 2 girls. Yeah.
No. This is. I don't know. They're not girls. I'm looking.
Where's this at? Is this here in the States or is this abroad?
I'm looking right now. Hold on one second. It's Gurfey versus.
Oh, Lee McGregor.
Yeah. Little guys.
Yeah.
Let me see. It is. It's in the UK, it looks like.
Yeah, well, see, to the UK, see, like I said, there's going to be fights abroad. In the United States on that weekend, it's going to be pretty dry because everybody's ramped up, to watch the Super Bowl, and they're not going to go and party on Saturday watching a fight with their friends when they're going to already do that on Sunday.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. You'll get fights in the UK, Russia, Asia, wherever, Australia, whatever.
So, hey, Mike, tell me about this. What do you think about this guy that JoJo's fighting, this Rogmatov? What do you think of this guy?
I don't know much about him. I got to be honest with you. I probably have seen him fight somewhere in the past, but I don't know much about him. The name Rogmatov or something like that. Is that? I mean, I know the name.
He's from Russia. Obviously, he's undefeated. He's coming into the fight 15-0 with 12 knockouts.
Well, he's another one of those guys that probably had a pretty extensive amateur career, and they turn pro a little bit later because they have such an extensive amateur career. I mean, Jojo Diaz. I mean, it's been a long time since he fought. That Tevin Farmer fight was over a year ago, if I'm correct.
Correct. Yeah.
So let's just hope that Jojo can knock off some of the ring rust and put on a good performance. I mean, I like the kid. I mean, I've met him on a few occasions, and he's tough. He's a good kid. I know he's a very family oriented guy. So I'm pulling for Jojo, but anything could happen. Yeah. These Eastern Bloc fighters are tough, man.
Yeah, you just never know what these guys when they're coming in. I mean, you can look at that fact that they've got only 15 fights compared to obviously JoJo's fighting in his 33rd professional bout, but you don't look at the 300 or 400 amateur fights or maybe what they did fighting in some of these leagues, like what Vasily Lomachenko did in that
world boxing,
like that boxing, like almost like a semi-pro boxing, grounds and stuff. So you really don't know. So, a guy like I said, I mean, I give the advantage of JoJo, but it's kind of hard for me to really call anything until I really look at this other guy. But like I said, these Block guys, it's a toss, it's a dice toss. You just never know.
Yeah, it's a roll of the dice. Yeah, never know.
These guys are just hard as nails and stuff. But
now that JoJo fights on the same night as Castano and Teixeira.
Yes, it is.
Fantasy Springs out here at Indio, right? Is that right?
Yes, it is. Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, there will be no fans in attendance, I'm guessing, but it would be nice if there was, because that's a nice venue and it's an outdoor venue. I mean, we've got a lot of rain here in SoCal lately. I don't know what that's a couple weeks away, but
I'll tell you what I would like. I would like to find out. Maybe we can get Neil on here to give us the Vegas odds, because I'll tell you the fight that I'm going to take. I'm going to take Jackson Moranes over Richard Comey for so many reasons.
Yeah.
And I hope Comey comes in the heavy favorite, because then it's ching, 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 daddy. I'm off to Applebee's.
I agree. Yeah. Marin is the one that I was talking to somebody last night about that fight against Rolly. That one.
Remember what we talked about, bro? When a fighter kind of gets beaten unjustly, how do they come back in their next fight?
Motivated as all hell.
And Richard Comey is going to be the unfortunate victim. Ex-champion is coming back with his first fight since his devastating knockout loss to Teofimo Lopez. Dude, you couldn't write it any better.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like the two trainers of a horse at Santa Anita. They're fixing a race and they're talking about it, and you're standing in the stall next to them taking a piss. It's right there, dude.
Yeah.
I almost feel bad talking about it right now. It's like,
you're gonna screw the odds all up.
Screw the odds now, dude. AJ, goddamn it.
AJ, you need to be a comedian, brother.
No. I think you need to be a comedian. It's Donnie Smith, dude.
Donnie Big D. Donnie Smith. He's hilarious. For those of you that don't know, he's our guitar player. He's our lead/rhythm, guitar player.
Dude.
This guy's, man. I don't know if Donnie's watching this, but
I can't get over that video.
Donnie's hilarious, man. Donnie's hilarious. He's hilarious.
Hilarious.
I slapped you.
I think I'm done for tonight, man. I need to get some eat. What do you think, guys? You guys talk about?
We got a few more minutes, man. Let's okay. So any news and notes, rumors out there? Okay, what's this rumor that I'm hearing about Ryan Garcia is trying to make a fight with Manny Pacquiao?
That's a joke. That's gotta be a joke.
So is that all we need to say about that?
Come on, let's be honest, guys. If Ryan Garcia, don't get me wrong, I give the kid a lot of credit. He gets dropped, by
Luke Campbell.
He gets up. But in what world is Luke Campbell the puncher of a Manny Pacquiao?
Not to mention the fact that Manny Pacquiao currently is the 147-pound champion. Ryan Garcia fights at 135.
I mean,
where are they going to fight at?
Yeah. What
are they going to do? They're going to make Manny suck back down to 140?
Here's the thing is,
he's using Manny's name to get more Instagram followers. A buddy of mine even came to me the other day and says, "Hey, man, I bet my buddy Mike on the fight. I'm like, what fight? He's all Garcia versus Pacquiao. I go, oh, Danny Garcia signed fight Manny Pacquiao? Bitching. That's a good fight.
Yeah.
No, Ryan Garcia. I said, shut the
fuck up.
Shut up, God. I thought he said Danny Garcia, and I was like excited. I was talking to Robert about that. He's all, that's a good fight. He's all, that's a good fight. Because people can say what they want about Danny Garcia coming up short in a big fight, but Danny Garcia, if given the chance, would give Manny Pacquiao all kinds of problems.
Well, like I said, sometimes fighters come back harder from a loss, sometimes they don't. I see a guy like Danny Garcia, because if you watch that fight, that 12th round, something snapped in Danny in that very end of that 12th round.
Speaking of the 12th round, you guys do yourself a favor, okay? And you guys have all seen the fight, but when you go back and you watch it again, you're just going to be blown away. Watch the 12th round of the Oscar De La Hoya Ike Quartey fight.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oscar landed, we were counting, it was 15 or 16 left hooks in one sequence when Quartey was on the ropes. And Halpern was like, do I go in? But Quartey kept fighting back.
Oh yeah.
And Quartey fought back
tough,
and then backed Oscar up, and Oscar had nothing left. He had nothing. He was gassed. All he could do was just move and just stay out of range.
Well,
I'm telling you, man,
that brings up a great point, bro. We could talk
about
that
12th round.
A guy who really kind of gets a bad knock because of maybe some of his promotional and some of his lifestyle things that he's made issues with. Let's be honest. Let's look at the ring resume of Oscar De La Hoya. Come on, the guy fought guys like Ike Quartey, who in today's world isn't the type of fighter you're going to fight. Pernell Whitaker, Julio Cesar Chavez. I mean, I could just sit here and go on. A guy even ventured up. He did what Kell Brook did later on and got credit a long time ago against the executioner, Bernard Hopkins. And I'll be honest with you, going into that 9th round, he was winning that fight. I mean, it was questionable, but I mean, he was competitive.
Yeah.
Fought Floyd Mayweather. I mean, Manny Pacquiao. The list is just ridiculous.
Oh, everybody. I mean, we were watching some fights. I mean, he fought Mauro Paez, David Kamau. Patrick Charpentier. I mean, these were all the gym.
Fight was against Paris Alexander.
I was at that fight at the Avalon in Hollywood. Yes, I think Avalon. I was at that fight.
I mean, come on. I mean, you got to give the guy credit where credit's due, and the guy has to be considered one of the all-time greats. Love him or hate him.
Was Robert his trainer at that time?
Absolutely.
Yeah, Robert was his trainer for 11 years. Yeah,
that's why, dude.
I got to tell you guys a little story really quick that Robert told me. You're gonna love this. Okay, so, Julio Cesar Chavez, by today's standards, everybody says, well, who's the greatest Mexican fighter ever? People say, oh, Chavez, because most people know Chavez from his big fights, because the way it was explained to me was Chavez came up in a time where promotion and social media was really just starting to take grass. And I'm not talking about like Twitter, Facebook, but, promotion, pay-per-views, cable TV. But I asked, Robert told me a story one time that this was at the Azteca gym in Los Angeles. And he was there. He had brought some guys to spar there, and Chavez was sparring there, getting ready for a title fight. He was there sparring, and he said the gym was packed to the rafters. There's an upstairs balcony there. People were hanging off the balcony. I mean, everybody, because they were there to see Chavez. He was a national hero. Robert was in the alley standing there. He went out there just to get some fresh air or something, and there was nowhere to park because the place was so packed. And then a car pulls up to park just in the alley, and the door opens up, and it was Ruben Olivares, the former 118, 22, 26-pound champion. He gets out of the car to come into the gym. The entire gym emptied out. Everybody left. They ran out the gym to greet Olivares in the alley behind the gym. So basically, Chavez was in there sparring with nobody even watching. And that was the true measure right there of when they say
who Ruben Olivares
fighter was, because I don't think it could happen the other way. If Olivares was in there sparring, now they fought in different eras. Olivares obviously fought before Chavez, but you think about the message that sends. Everybody, Ruben Olivares is in the park. Oh, everybody just left. They just were jumping out.
Well, if anybody remembers the story about when Bobby Chacon, when he fought against Ruben Olivares, the death threats that he got. I mean, Olivares was a loved fighter, bro. He was kind of like how Art Aragon was, the original golden boy of LA and stuff at the time. Yes. And stuff. These guys were embraced by the Latino community, whether it be Mexican American or American Mexican. It didn't matter. Yeah. These guys just loved these guys for the wars they brought,
Yeah.
And Ruben Olivares, who was a phenomenal fighter in his own right. Absolutely.
I thought that was a great story. I just thought it was interesting, you know. I mean, because we were talking about De La Hoya and Chavez and and everything.
Well, the thing is, you know, if some of the young fighters today can actually take a little bit of lesson, like what you were saying, the wars that they were in, that's what makes people love you. I mean, period. You know, if you're in there and you're fighting and you're giving 110% and you're in wars and you're not afraid, or basically you're not in there just to, you know, take somebody that's 37 years old and has a whole bunch of losses. I mean,
you're absolutely right, bro. I mean, that's a problem with boxing.
That's what makes people actually like and want to watch you. You know what I mean? These guys that are, I'm 17-0 or 18-0 or 20-0 or whatever the case may be. Yeah, but who have you fought?
Well, let me tell you guys.
Been in?
To circle back to the main event that happened this past weekend, how many people that you think tuned into Fox last night to watch Caleb Plant are going to tune back in next time he fights?
No, we're not.
I would say half, maybe, and that's being very optimistic. People probably tune in and go, "Who's this guy, Caleb Plant? Let me watch this."
You see, the problem is
after
honestly,
the
bro,
fourth
we got
round,
so many
the 6th round
Johnny come latelys when it comes to boxing today. I always tell people, in order to appreciate what's going on today in boxing, you have to know a little bit of something about the past. So, without going into what everybody always talks about, whenever you talk to a person who claims to be an aficionado when it comes to boxing past, history, hit them with that middle ground. Say, you know what? Don't talk to me about the Sugar Ray Leonards or the Roberto Durans. Why don't you talk to me about the era and the lightweights and stuff when they used to kind of the Dynamite Dozens, the Rock and Robin Blakes, the Tony the Tiger Baltazar and stuff.
Yeah.
When those wars were going on, when Mancini had that middle ground when he ran into Livingston, Bramble.
Broke my heart that night. Broke my heart, man. I cried.
Johnny
that night.
Bump City Bumpus, who a lot of people forgot, who passed away a couple years ago. Another guy who kind of put himself inside there. The point is, there was this traffic jam between 135 and 147 for about 6 years. And it was absolutely amazing. And that was, if you can forget about Leonard and Duran, because there was a mix of fighters inside there. You got guys like Bobby Chacon was going up into those divisions.
Too many guys are overshadowed by by the narrative that's fed to us that Sugar Ray Leonard and they said Leonard and Hearns and Duran were just the best things ever, and then Muhammad Ali was the greatest fighter ever, and they completely just disregard and
I can sit here and go all day. I could talk about
you gotta say though, and you gotta say that Leonard Duran 2 fight that was actually
was a joke. No. You're talking about one.
Is it 2 or 1?
1. Two was when Duran quit.
2 was, but if anybody goes back and watches that fight, I would have quit too. Yeah. Leonard was in there goofing off.
Yeah, it was terrible.
He didn't want to fight. He didn't want to stand there and fight. And Duran says, "I'm not doing this." And
I don't think those enchiladas helped Duran 15 minutes before the fight either. No,
that's what they were saying.
Enchiladas.
I don't know, but that fight, I still to this day, that fight irks me because when people talk about that, it's like, did you actually go back and watch that last round or two and see why the man quit? It isn't like he was getting pummeled, all because he was being made to look ridiculous because Leonard just wanted to poke and do this nonsense. And
there was a lot of, and honestly, that was even kind of like the fight promotions that were going on at that time, because I'll tell you right now, I was always a big Kronk guy. It wasn't always about Emmanuel Stewart. There was something about that gold Kronk trunks. I wanted to fight for Kronk. It was either them, Joseph Van Abercrombie, and Houston, Texas. Those are the two that I was split between. But the thing about Kronk, I remember during the undercard of the Thomas Hearns Roberto Duran fight, which anybody watch that fight, Tommy Hearns was just on fire, and he devastatingly knocked out Duran in 2 rounds. Just did what he did. He's Tommy Hearns. But it was Daryl Knox who fought on the undercard. Dwayne Thomas,
Dwayne Thomas was a good fighter.
Gerald McClellan. These were Kronk fighters, man. This is who you were going to be in there with. I mean, it was just absolutely amazing. Even guys like Brett Sumners was in there. Kent Ivory.
Didn't Jeff Harding for a short time fight for?
Yes, he did. Jeff Harding
fought,
absolutely. Jeff Harding fought for him for a short time. But I watched that and I'm just thinking to myself, I'm just like, it's like, those are the days, man, when a champion fought for a gym that was praised, he brought his stablemates and he filled that freaking card with them.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about Kronk, it was a stellar event, man. It was a stellar event.
And like you said, far too often the guys like the Gerald McClellans and all those guys, the Dwayne Thompson, they get overlooked because you've got
especially the way that their lives turned out. Darnell Knox ended up in prison, for drug charges. you know, it's sad. A lot of people don't really see the past and what really happened. Not just people talk about the walls and the posters, how the posters are torn down and the buildings in ruins, the old Kronk stable, but they don't really talk about the pieces of the lives that were associated with that. J.L. Ivey, who was
that are scattered amongst,
coming up, shot and killed in a drug deal. You know what I'm saying? Mike the Bounty Hunter, shot and killed. Dwayne Knox, prison for life. I mean, I can go on and on and on, and it's really sad.
Yeah, most people don't know these names, bro.
There's a few success stories like Brett Summers, who went on to become a fireman and stuff, you know, but with the exception to that, you know, there wasn't too many Tommy Hearns. A lot of these other guys were the guys that laid the brick foundations for the Kronk and stuff to elevate the Tommy Hearns and others and stuff.
Yeah,
but they're the ones who are kind of stained on the ground of memories lost and stuff. So for that, I want to say Kronk Stables, it is what it is, man. You know, I always remember it.
All right.
Maybe we'll have a show about that. We'll talk about, you know, Kronk Stables, or we'll talk about whatever. That'd be kind of a good segment to talk about.
So, okay. So I want to go over one more thing real quick. You guys always see me. I have a nice drink in my hand, but it's only like once a week. So I just want everybody to know I'm not alcohol and lunch. However, today's broadcast is brought to you by Pendleton Whiskey.
Yeah, Pendleton. You got to put your Pendleton on when you drink your Pendleton whiskey.
Hood River Distilleries. If you see us, please, you know, we can handle three bottles, one for the three of us. So, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Anyway,
it's a good show, bro, guys.
Send it on our way. So good job, guys.
So with that said, Mike, we'll be back. Why don't you go ahead and take us out?
Yeah. So thanks for joining us here on Enter the Ring Live. I guess we'll be back on Tuesday. What would be February the 2nd, 2021, 5:00 on the West Coast, 8:00 Eastern. For all of us at Enter the Ring Live, this is your co-hosts, Mighty Mike,
AJ Rage,
and Eric the Red.
Peace out, everybody. Have a good week. Have a good 2 days, and we'll see you in 48 hours.
We'll see you in 48 hours.